So today I kind of wanted to talk about something that just happened over the last couple of days and I think is really messed up. And if you're in like the animal rescue circles and whatnot, I'm willing to bet you know that what I'm referring to is Michael Vick being named the head coach at Norfolk University for their football team. Quick summary of why I think Michael Vick is just flat out evil. He was arrested in 2007 for his involvement in a dogfighting ring. By involvement, I mean he created the entire thing, housed it on his property, and funded it as well. As if those acts of essentially facilitating the dogfighting wasn't enough, Michael Vick is also on record as admitting to being more hands-on than I am allowed to speak about here on TikTok. If you'd like more details, it is in my episode on the podcast, Michael Vick is Bad News. And that is episode 20 of the show. And remember, you can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, there are things that while I was researching episode 20, Michael Vick is Bad News, named for his Bad News kennel, by the way, I learned some truly horrifying things about the kind of person that Michael Vick is. He unalived many dogs himself with his own hands, and in addition to using his hands, he used other horrible implements as well. Again, can't really say every single thing here, and I do go into more detail, but it isn't, I promise it's not gory on the show. But that is one of those things that I do wholeheartedly believe in rehabilitating a person. Torturing animals, I don't think is one of those things that you can ever possibly come back from. And even if I did, I also read his book. I watched TV interviews with him, and I read quotes delivered by him. This man has shown not 1 ounce of remorse for what he did. Not one. No. Instead of remorse, he shifts all of the blame to the other people involved, who definitely needed to be punished. They were charged, they were convicted, everything, but they were not the main event here. Now, he didn't show remorse, and when he was sentenced, he was only sentenced to 21 months in prison, which is pretty awful as it is. Kind of a small slap on the wrist. Even worse, animal cruelty was not a federal crime until this case. So not a moment of the time that he served was because of the animal cruelty he inflicted. He went to prison essentially for racketeering and gambling. He has not served any time for the immense harm and the deaths of those animals. Add to that of those 21 months that he was sentenced to, he only had to serve 18. Unfortunately, it only gets worse from there. As soon as Vick was released from prison, he had a job waiting for him with the Philadelphia Eagles. Meaning that, once again, a violent NFL player faced no consequences, no real lasting consequences for their actions. And I really wish that I could tell you guys that Michael Vick is the worst of the worst. But what makes this even more disgusting is that this is a systemic problem. This is a problem all throughout pro sports, even college sports, where this person's talent is prioritized over quite literally right and wrong. I did a little bit of research for you guys. Now, I'm going to pick on the NFL a little bit here simply because out of all of the pro sports organizations, they are the worst as far as arrests and charges for their players. So we're just going to use them for our data here. Since the year 2000, there have been 1,042 arrests or citations of NFL players. A lot of those are drug-related, DUI-related, violations of parole-related, and such like that. Still not great, but at the very least not violent. I went through and found public data that showed what each of these people was arrested for and charged with. 320 of those arrests and citations were violent crimes. That's a third. A third of all of the arrests of NFL players from the year 2000 to 2024 have been for violent crimes. Now, just so that I can show my receipts, how am I defining violent crimes? I have a list here. All right, my definition while I was looking through all of these charges. Okay, domestic violence, kidnapping, rape, animal cruelty, assault, battery, hit and run, armed robbery, child abuse, murder, and manslaughter. So those are the only ones that I included in that 320 number. The others were things like DUIs, having unregistered firearms, having firearms when you're not supposed to, reckless driving, solicitation, fraud, not paying child support, probation violations, things like that. Of all of those charges and arrests, a fraction ever actually even make it to a courtroom. The vast majority of the time, the victim is told that they're not going to be able to provide enough proof. They are bullied into dropping charges. They are settled outside of court so that they can be forced to sign an NDA and never speak on the issue again, essentially intimidated into silence. So while others may be celebrating with Michael Vick today, myself and others in the animal community absolutely will not. Shame on the NFL for turning a blind eye to all of these players and their just wanton disrespect for other people's safety and the law. Shame on the Philadelphia Eagles specifically for taking this horrible person back on their team right out of prison. Shame on Fox for giving Michael Vick yet another voice, another platform as a sports commentator all of these years. And shame on you, Norfolk University. This is not a man who should be in charge of anyone.